Welcome back, everyone, to the Writer's Parachute. We're guiding author and writer dreams to a perfect landing. Today, we have with us a very special guest. We have Janet Wolanin Alexander, and we're going to talk to her about her 3 books. But of course, we always have the housekeeping at the top of the show. We, of course, would love for you to smash that like button. Go ahead and hit subscribe, and don't forget the bell to get notifications anytime we have a new episode out for you. You can also follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and now on Threads at Writer Parachute. That's Writer Parachute without an S. So go check that out. And of course, don't forget our website. That's thewritersparachute.com. You can check out more information there. Also, if you would like to get a weekly update in your email inbox, then go ahead and sign up for those weekly updates at sendfox.com/thewritersparachute. Of course, we'll have all of those links and more for you in the show notes, but don't forget to check those out. So, of course, we start the show with a topic of the week. So we have been keeping 2 reviews here in season 2. We've kind of run the gamut of kinds of reviews, how to get reviews, what to do with reviews. So we're kind of talking about the other side and some of the questions that come up. One that I have to field quite often is, who is eligible to leave a review for your book, and what is the difference between verified purchasers and other reviewers, and rules and guidelines for Goodreads and other retailers. Now, of course, I am not the be-all, end-all of all knowledge about Amazon reviews. If you would like to see their rules, I would suggest that you check out the community guidelines on Amazon, and it will clearly state what is and what is not allowed. However, I'm going to give you a little Cliff Notes version of that. So, who is eligible to write a review? Anyone who reads your book is eligible to write a review. Amazon reserves the right to disqualify or not use that review based on their own rules and guidelines. You would have to check with them if they refuse a review as to why. They do also require that reviewers have purchased at least $50 worth of merchandise from Amazon in the previous 12-month period to be eligible to review any item on Amazon, and that includes books. So that's who's eligible. The difference between verified purchasers and other reviewers are simply that people who purchased your book from Amazon, they actually paid money or got it for free when it was for free through Amazon, and therefore they are considered a verified purchaser. To make sure that your verified purchaser emblem is included, make sure you go back to the invoice receipt from when you purchased the book to leave the review. That way you will get that label of verified purchaser. If you just go to the sales page of the book and leave a review, then you may or may not be recognized as a verified purchaser. So make sure you do go back to the invoice where you purchased the book when you're leaving a review to get that verified purchaser status. They do give higher ranking to verified purchaser reviews than they do to other reviews. Now, other retailers and Goodreads. Goodreads is actually a division of Amazon, but their rules are a little more relaxed and not quite as strict about reviews, because Goodreads is simply about finding books and reviewing them. So if for some reason you cannot get your review to show up on Amazon, and always is a good practice, even if you are putting your review on Amazon, I would strongly suggest that you also go to Goodreads, find the author, find the book, leave the review there. I've heard very few times when reviews have been disqualified on Goodreads, but they do have community guidelines there as well. And I do suggest that you check those out. There are all other retailers. We have Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Apple Books, Thrift Books, Books a Million. I could go on and on and on about the different bookstores. You have to go to their website to leave a review. They will have their own guidelines, but generally speaking, they are much more relaxed compared to Amazon. So you are also eligible in the same manner. If you purchase the book from one of these retailers, of course, you're going to get a higher ranking for that review than if you're simply going there to review the book after purchasing it or getting it from the library or borrowing it or something of that nature, or getting a free copy for review. So just keep those items in mind. I know, of course, this is a Cliff Notes version. I can't cover everything in this short amount of time. So if you would like more information about this, please reach out to us here at the Writer's Parachute. You can contact us through the website, or you can leave us a comment under the show, and we'll be sure to get back to you on that. So I want to get on with our show. I'm very excited. We're going to be talking to Janet Wolanin Alexander, and she is an author, retired teacher, and horsehair jewelry braider. We're going to talk about her three books, a memoir, At Home on a Horse in the Woods, a craft book, braiding horsehair jewelry, and now a children's book, Finally Horses. Janet lives in southern Indiana with her husband, 4 cats, and 2 dogs. She is a retired after teaching school for 30 years. She is now in her early 70s and is riding her 4th dream horse, a chestnut saddlebred mare named Dancer. Mrs. Alexander continues chasing her next dream, writing another horse book. Besides writing, she loves braiding horsehair jewelry for horse lovers. You can always reach out to her at swishtales.com. And of course, we will have that for you in the show notes. Welcome to the Writer's Parachute. Janet, how are you today?
Oh, I am really excited about this. A little nervous, but I am up for it.
Well, I will try to be extremely gentle with you. I know you've done this once before, but we'll get through it. We always do. And it's always a fun conversation. And I think sometimes nerves are a good thing. So let's talk about this new book, Finally Horses. It's not out quite yet, but this week it's going to be available on October 20th. You can go grab your book. It is up for pre-order right now. We will have the link for pre-orders for you. And as soon as we get the direct order link, we'll have that up for you. So the book starts out with this quote: "To horse crazy kids of all ages, may hoofbeats finally accompany your heartbeats." You talk about dreams and all kinds of things and the constant pursuit of them. And I want to know why you felt like this was such an important topic to share with kids and young readers.
Because it took me forever to learn myself. It wasn't until I was writing my first book that I discovered this truth that dreams are powerful, and they are, I say, hints from God as to why in the world we're here on Earth, what we're supposed to do during our time here, what we're supposed to leave behind before we leave. Just divine guidance, I guess.
All right. So I want to know, what is kind of the inspiration behind writing a children's book? And we'll talk about why that's a curious question here in a minute, but I want to hear what you have to say.
I didn't intend to write a book when I wrote my first book. I compiled a whole bunch of writings throughout my life and put them together, and published it once and then republished it. And the second publisher asked me a very difficult question: why did you write this book? Who is your audience? What are people supposed to learn from it? Which took me months of thinking to try to figure that out. And I think what it is the value of a dream, that dreams are important. You do need to listen to them. They will give your life a purpose. I wanted to write, I think that lesson is not only one for adults, but as well for children. So I got the idea after I wrote 2 books of daring to write a children's book. I always loved children's books. I love the illustrations, and I really envy people that can take a complex idea and put it in a picture and instantaneously communicate something that words take so long to convey. It's just amazing to me. Anyway, I thought what I had learned about dreams through my experience certainly applied for children. And had I learned those lessons when I was a child, maybe it would not have taken me as long to change my life, to realize my dream and to improve my life. Find my interest, find my calling, find my love, my passion.
Well, you did an amazing job, and I love this book, and it is such a great book, and what you're pointing out is a really difficult thing. We hear about people saying, oh, children's books are easy. They're not necessarily easy, because they are very complex terms that you have to simplify in the fewest, easiest, straightforward language possible. I mean, you do have the illustrations, which is helpful because sometimes a picture says 1,000 words, but as the author, you have to tell the story first so the illustrator can enhance it. So it is a little difficult and a little strategic, that you have to think about what words are absolutely necessary and ones that aren't really necessary. So I know that that you wrote this Finally Horses mostly for kids, and I think you're targeting more like the 7 to 10 or 12-year-olds with this book. But I want to know what you would like for readers to gain from reading Finally Horses.
I guess, what I said before, your dreams are very important. You really should give them a shot. You should work really hard towards them. You should not give up on them. I almost gave up several times, which is one of the reasons it took me so long, because there were times when I just gave up pursuit for a year or more. There will be naysayers. Don't listen to them. Listen to the people that are there to encourage you and to hold out their hand to help you along the way, because you're going to need a lot of help. Writing and publishing and selling a book are way more comprehensive and complicated than I ever thought. And I'm still just at the tip of the iceberg in learning all that. And this is my third book. So just, don't be afraid to take that step forward. The teacher will be there, when you're ready to take that step.
Awesome. And I think too, we also forget that in learning and teaching, we're also inspiring others, because I think every time I see somebody reach for that dream or achieve that dream, it inspires me much more to go after my dreams. So
that's what we're here for, to help other people.
Yeah. And so I think, inspiration comes into that. So I want to know if you could go all the way back to the beginning, when you first started out writing and publishing and doing all of this stuff. What do you wish you had known, or that somebody had told you?
The importance of an editor. My first book, as I said, I didn't intend to write a book. I was just guided to write down these stories. The pile grew. During my teaching years, I had fellow teachers go through them and edit them. Then I joined a writers group and had them re-edited again. Then the pile was big enough to form a book. Two members of my group generously were very supportive, and they published the first one. And one of the gals re-edited it yet again from the perspective of, now these weren't individual stories. They were they built upon each other, and she had to edit from the perspective of flow and repetitiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And I got them published, but they didn't sell. So then I learned that you have to sort of plan your book ahead of time for selling. They kind of go hand in hand, not one before the other, like I thought. And the second book was the step-by-step illustrated guide to braiding horsehair jewelry. And being a teacher for 30 years and having written 5 bazillion lesson plans, I figured I could be the editor. So I chose to be the editor of my second book. Of course, I had a few, family members and friends kind of go through, but I swear I must have gone over that book at least a million times to get it perfected. I was able to do that because a how-to book is fairly simplistic. There's no dialogue, there's no character development. It's just, straightforward. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Then when I got to the children's book, I thought, heck, I've written 2 books now, and I've taught for 30 years, so surely I can, write a children's book. And then I met you. And it's like, oh boy, did I have a lot to learn. And I realized first of all, today I had a conversation with someone who said that she wanted to write a book and she was going to write it all, and all she needed was the editor, and which she meant proofreader. And I tried to go into that, what I had learned, that there's many different types of editors, and a proofreader is not really the same as an editor. And I could see her eyes just kind of blank out, just too much information for her at that time. So the importance of a good editor, like you really helped me. You made me figure out the reading level so that I could gear the words and the promotion to that particular age group. It's always helpful to get people to edit your work. I mean, just even proofread, because what you intend, you're so close to your work, what you intend and you think you were so clear on may not come across that way to someone else. And I love, working with somebody else and seeing their point of view and working with them, because working with you has made my book so much better than it ever was if I had written it by myself. So I learned a lot and I enjoyed it. You're fun to work with, so I'm happy with it.
Well, thank you. And I will just reiterate that, yes, get an editor, get a professional editor. Even a professional editor, hire an editor for my work, because you get too close to it. It's you're so far in the weeds, you can't see the forest for the trees. You know what you mean to say, and you think you say it. It's like I've even seen people at critique groups where they're reading their work for critique, and they will just fill in the words that aren't actually there because they know what they mean to say, but the words are not actually there. So there are so many things that an editor does. They don't just look at spelling and grammar and punctuation. They do look at, the flow of the story, the language of the story, the age of the story, the genre of the story and the book, because all of those matter in the way that the book is presented. So I 100% agree with you. Of course I would, but but I think it's something important that we all need to pay attention to. It's like, I know people complain that, they're like, well, I don't really want to pay an editor. Well, there's an editor for all price ranges out there. But again, it's an investment. It's an investment because if you're going to go get your picture taken, you're going to spend the money to get your hair done and makeup and a nice outfit. So it's sort of the same thing. You're putting the lipstick and stuff on this book so so that you can present it to the world. So that's what I would have to say. So now, interestingly enough, you have 3 books here, and they are in 3 completely different genres. It's like, I don't know that I've ever met an author who wrote a memoir, wrote a craft book, and then a children's book. That seems like kind of hopscotching all over the place. So
I'm an odd duck, what could I say?
Well, I mean, but I understand. So I just want to know what advice you would offer to any other author or writer that wants to write in multiple genres.
I'd say listen to your heart, listen to your dreams. I mean, went from writing stories to getting articles published in a magazine to doing the book, and thought I was finished. And then the horsehair jewelry for me was so difficult to learn because there was no information really out at the time that taught that. So I learned from people, and it was hard to find those people. And then I just basically thought, well, now that I know, I'm going to write the book to fill that void. I'm going to write the book that I wish I had had when I was, desiring to learn. My whole point of that was I love horses, and I have learned in my life that they are just not things like motorcycles that you get on and for your ego, you know, direct them here and there to do this and that. They are, sentient beings, and they are more intelligent and more sensitive than I ever imagined. And I mean, it's important to have a relationship with them. And you can learn, they're individuals, and you can learn so much from horses. It's amazing. So I get real close to the horses that I ride. And when I learned about horsehair jewelry braiding, I wanted to braid a piece from my horse's tail to honor the closeness of our relationship, so that when I was not riding him, I could, carry him with me and, just touch, like I have a pair of earrings, and, I can just be Carol, Carol Burnett. And, when I kind of miss a horse, I just, kind of touch him, and I, feel connected again. So that was that story.
Well, it's amazing that you've been able to weather the path and find your way to these 3 books. They're all really good. I do strongly recommend them. So this book, Finally Horses, is your 3rd book. And that you do consider it to be kind of a children's version of your first book, At Home on a Horse in the Woods. So I want to know, for the audience, because I actually do know, but I want you to share with the audience how do they relate to one another, and how are they different?
They're both memoirs in the sense that they're true story. They're my true story of my dream about horses and my long quest to connect with horses. They both have lessons about the power of dreams, and the power of people who help you along the way. But I would say the children's version is more about the dream, and that the adult version has a lot more information, obviously, and it includes stories along the journey. And when I reach my dream and I connect with 3 particular horses, stories about my experiences, with them, and places they take me, and things I, learned from them, and just more in depth information.
Yeah, and I've read all 3 books, and I would agree with you. I think Finally Horses is about chasing a dream and not giving up, whereas At Home on a Horse in the Woods is more about not only that, but the whole journey to how you achieve that dream and beyond. So I think that's amazing. So you also wrote another book, the craft book. It's called Braiding Horsehair Jewelry. I'm sensing a theme here. So why horses? I know we sort of sketched around it a little bit, but I really want to hear why horses, and why this is so important, and how all of these books kind of follow your unique journey.
I guess I'm sorry, I guess they're kind of my spirit animal. I mean, I don't know. I was born in a big city, little kid, no connection whatsoever to horses. And yet I was fascinated and passionate about them. I don't know why. And they're magic. They get your attention. They're big. They're amazing. They're sentient beings. They have souls. You can communicate. You can have relationships with them. They teach you stuff if you're, willing to listen. They're spirit guides. They're just my bliss in life is to ride a horse on a trail and just observe nature and kind of be open to listening. You spend so much time in your life talking. If you like me, I think, we can't get to bed at night because our minds are so busy thinking, and you can't, you have to get melatonin or something to, kind of shut your mind down. And a much better way is to get on the back of a horse out in the woods, and you can't do anything. I mean, there's no dishes to do or social media to answer or tasks to get done. You're there on the saddle in the woods, and there's the only thing that you can do is be in the moment. And that is priceless for people in our society, to experience quiet and not having, and to be in the now without concentrating on a list of things to do at hyper speed. And it's amazing when you kind of shut up. Well, you can learn stuff.
Well, yeah, and I so agree with that. It's like, riding a horse in the woods or walking in the woods or just taking a walk. It's something about that quiet and that not hurry up and get something done, uh, where you can start to actually hear your inner thoughts, because they get so lost in the noise that you're just trying to get from one task to another. And you're absolutely right. It does put you in the moment, and it makes you appreciate the quiet, because you can hear yourself. You can feel the wind against your face and smell, all of the smells from nature. And it's just something so different. It really does transport you to a kind of a quieter, gentler, almost more focused place that I find. It's like I have to remind myself often to go out and take a walk, just so I can refine that center. And I applaud you that you keep finding that center.
And the beauty and the magic, I mean, the exquisiteness of creation. I mean, we have a diverse ecosystem in southern Indiana, a lot of tree species. And I mean, you go out there and it just never ceases to amaze me how many different shapes of leaves there are. I mean, just simple things, how many species of butterflies there are. I'm always, in awe of, things that I observe.
Well, and I imagine at this time of year, going into Halloween and Thanksgiving, I imagine that the colors of those
Colors, yeah.
multi-shaped leaves is just outstanding and just
Yeah.
gorgeous. I wish we had a little bit more of that here in Northern California, but it doesn't quite, have the turn of the seasons as much as you guys do there in Indiana. So I'll have to have you send me some pictures of that.
And I'm very blessed that where I ride is a state, property, and who I just thank God for the persons who conserve that for future generations for recreational purposes. Oh my gosh, because it's so hard. I mean, everywhere you look, there's another apartment building going up or another CVS or, a store being built. And it's like, where's nature going? But so thank God that someone, had the guidance and the wisdom to preserve this beautiful place where I've ridden for over 20 years.
That's amazing. So we're going to shift gears just a little bit. So we want to know what keeps you motivated, because I would think it would take a lot of motivation to write 3 books.
It's spiritual. I mean, I cannot write from my mind. Like I'm in awe of people in my writers group that could come up with these characters from another dimension and write about them, about things they invent or whatever. They could come up with these things. I don't know where they pull them up, but they pull them out of the air. And I can't do that. I'm inspired to write about what I experience. So it's a different type of, writing, I guess. But I'm inspired by that, and I mean by just kind of an inner calling to write. I'm inspired by the people that, like you, understand the importance of following your dream and that help you. And I mean, that's everything, someone who really, understands and is willing to help. And let's see what else. I don't know. And I don't have children. And so I hope that, when I leave the earth, that I have something to leave, behind. And for me, that'll be in the form of my books.
Right. Well, and what you mentioned there about, you write nonfiction, it's truth from life as you experience it. And there's a huge value to that. I've written nonfiction. I prefer writing fiction just simply because my imagination goes bananas. It's like somebody could say something to me and I could come up with 20 different stories about that. So, but that's just me. And it was like, I think that came from me being an isolated kid and I had to entertain myself. So that, but I have a much harder time writing as you do, life experience, because I always want to add my own little flair and my own little curve and my own little ideas. So that's why I'm better suited to fiction. But there's nothing wrong with what you do.
I mean,
I said there's nothing wrong with what you do. In fact, what you do helps people like me come up with all the crazy ideas.
It's kind of scary to open yourself up, to your inner self up and kind of risk people's judgments. But then you have to look at it. It helps other people, so it's worth it.
Absolutely. There's always somebody out there that is desperate to hear what you have to say. So whether it's fiction or nonfiction or somewhere in between, somebody is wanting to read it. So here on the Writer's Parachute on season 2, we've been focused on reviews. So I want you to write a review for your new book, Finally Horses.
If you are a kid or maybe even an adult who has a big dream and are not sure that it can come true because it is so big, should you go after it or should you not? Perhaps this book about a girl who has a big dream and is at the same place you are and dares to go forward and learn some things along the way. Might have some inspiration that would help you make your decision.
Amazing. 5 stars. I've read Finally Horses. I love Finally Horses. I truly encourage you, if you have any kids or if you're a kid at heart, go grab a copy of Finally Horses. So what's next for Janet Alexander?
My first book was first published in 2017 and republished in 2019. And it consists of a lot of personal horse experiences. And the last ones, of course, were on the horse that I had at the time named Highlander, the wonderful horse that I trail rode for over 20 years. So I have more stories of him because he lived until 2021. So I have stories stories that I've written about him that are not yet published. He passed a year ago, sadly, and immediately God blessed me with another horse. It's actually a friend's horse named Dancer, and she is officially retired from the saddlebred world, but she's very healthy, and the vet said she needs to be ridden for her health. We need exercise to keep healthy. You don't just sit. But her rider no longer rides her, and asked if I would be interested. Oh my God, she's a dream. She's another dream. So now I'm writing stories about her, and I'm starting a whole new pile. And so maybe there will be a second version of At Home on a Horse in the Woods. This time it could be at 70 and still at home on a horse in the woods. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I love that as a great title. So we're gonna have to wait a little while, or do we have
Yes, you have to wait a while, yeah.
expectations? Okay, all right. Well, of course, we'll have to have you back when you're ready to launch that second follow-up book to At Home in a Horse in the Woods, 30 years in the making, maybe. We'll play with the title there. So we want to know where listeners can find your books.
I wrote that down. Let's see. My books can be sold wherever books are sold. That includes online stores such as Amazon and also bookstores like Barnes and Noble, or best yet, your local independent bookstore. We got to support those independent bookstores. They also, if you want an autograph, you can write to my webpage, swishtails.com, and you can order them from me, and I will be more than glad to send you an autographed copy.
Okay, so now can they purchase any of your books as an autographed copy at your website?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that's swishtails.com. Of course, we'll have that link for you along with the retail links to purchase her book from the different retailers. You're also active on social media. So where can they connect and follow you?
I'm most active on Facebook, and I'm being encouraged to also become active on Instagrams and Twitter.
Okay, which is now X. But
Oh,
we still
X.
call it Twitter here, but thank you. And we'll have the direct links to follow Janet on her social media. You have any upcoming events, giveaways, signups, or anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, once Finally Horses gets published on October 20th, I will have some children's activities up on my website that are free that you can download.
Okay. All right. As soon as we get that link from Janet, we'll add that to the show notes. So what she's saying is after October 20th or on October 20th and beyond, the activity sheets that go along with the Finally Horses children's book will be available for download on her website, but we will get the direct link for you. I believe it's activity and coloring sheets, but you can go there and check them out. Was there anything else you wanted to include before we go do our tip of the week?
I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but I would just like to end with a huge compliment to you for all your help. I mentioned a little bit before, but one thing I want to point out is that you have the patience of a saint. I love how you're a teacher. You just don't do things for me. Instead of feeding me fish, you teach me how to fish so that I can fish them for myself in the future. And I have had such a phobia about technology, and you have been so patient in guiding me through that. You're amazing. I mean, it's truly hard to find these days someone who can actually teach you how to do something that you find so difficult and they probably find easy, but they care so much about you and you're learning that they stick with you without getting frustrated and giving up. So kudos to you, Donna.
Thank you. Wow. I don't know. I think I'm going to clip that out as a recommendation for my services. Thank you. That was extremely generous, and I'm a little flustered now.
Oh, wow, I flustered Donna.
Oh, I know. Well, thank you. Thank you so very much for those words. But we'll go ahead and jump over for our tip of the week. So, a little bit about what we're talking about. So, the tip of the week is I talked to Jan a little bit in the green room about, sort of what she's talking about this business mindset and all the technology and the promotions and the marketing, all the hard parts of having a book, writing a book, and publishing a book. So, I want you to just think about it all as a journey. Yes, there's a lot of technical aspects. Yes, there's a lot of technology involved. Yes, there's a certain mindset that you need to have, but it's sort of like climbing the mountain. You're going to start small and you're going to go over the nearest hill and make sure that you did it well. And then you're going to get a taller mountain and you're going to go over it. You're not going to tackle Everest on your first try. And even then, there are so many people beyond me. There are so many other people too that are willing to help you. There are all kinds of tools and tips. If you need more tips, go back and look at our past episodes. We have a tip and a topic every single week on every single episode, and some extra ones that I've added in. But there is the information out there. If you cannot get through it on your own, find your team. Don't just settle for those who are around you and and expect them to have expert advice. They may or they may not, or they may not understand why they did things a certain way that may not work for you. Assemble a team and get those people together. Find the right editor for you. Find the right illustrator for you if you're doing a children's book or something that needs illustrations. Find the right writing group for you. Find the right critique group for you. Play around with some of the apps and programs. Figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Because I guarantee you one thing that I do know. Everybody's journey is different. How they get there is going to be different. The way that they get there is going to be different. People prefer certain apps over others for different reasons. I talk about this. I like the voice to or speech to text options because I'm really, really busy, but I'm very particular about the apps that I use because I prefer the ones that do a recording and then a transcription rather than direct transcribe, because I tend to get excited and I talk really, really fast, and then it has to jump ahead to catch up. And so there may be a paragraph or two or even up to a page that just goes missing. Whereas if I have the recording, then I can go back and recapture that. But if I'm just talking, it's kind of gone into the ether. So that's one of those things that works for me that may not work for somebody else. Somebody else may not have the problems that I have with getting excited and speaking too fast to keep up with the speech to text. But I want you to think about it. It's your race. It's your journey. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Nobody's going to say it has to be done in a certain amount of time. Of course, they're going to encourage you to keep moving forward. But that's it. That's all that's required is progress. So if you can't find help, if you're struggling, please reach out. If you need some recommendations, you can reach out to us here on the Writer's Parachute, and we'll see if we can't direct you towards some professionals and non-professionals out there that may be able to help you. But do put that team together, keep it to yourself, and just say, it's my journey. I can get through this. I will get through it. And eventually you'll get to Everest, and I guarantee you'll climb it with style, without any problem. It's not as hard as it seems. I think fear keeps us from going forward a lot more often than reality, but that's okay. Sometimes fear teaches us a lot of good things too. So I know that's an unusual tip of the week, but I wanted to share that with you. And I am so thankful for having Janet here with us this week. And I'm so grateful to be the host here on the Writer's Parachute, guiding author and writer dreams to a perfect landing. We hope that you find this a safe, creative space for your dreams to land to. Until next time, have a nice week. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.